Alright, so as you can see here, I've now ranked 318 on PC with about a 70% win rate. In a moment of clarity, I want to say that the bulk of my losses came from the first 2 days while I figured out the system, and since then it's been a pretty easy grind. I hadn't played a Budokai game since I was a child, so if I can do it, you can. What I want to make this video about though is the problems with the game now that I'm at what I would consider the high rank, and why the game does need to decide if it wants to be competitive or not. And it starts here. Sparking Zero does not, I repeat, does not need to cater to competitive players like a traditional fighting game. However, one of the earliest statements made by the devs was that they want you to feel like the roster was as overpowered as they are in the show. This is character frequency sorted by high rank, Z rank to be specific, and it doesn't change as you move into A or S from my experience. Yajirobe is a powerful stall character that you should put on every single team you run. Master Roshi has after image strike, I believe, and you should run him on any team you can. Hercule has great stall. Dr. Wheelo has an unblockable charge that can cheese you out, making it harder for you to get in meaningful damage and leading to timeouts. Raccoon is smothering for a 3-cost unit, able to genuinely outvalue characters like Gogeta in DP battle. Dr. Gero and Android 19 require extremely specific answers, and once you start defending their grab pressure, the person playing them has all of the opportunity in the world to just stop relying on it, becoming walls with the potential to heal and thus stall you out. Bardock has access to a combo breaker that also puts him in sparking, making him a reliable damage threat despite him costing less than characters who require an animation for the same value. Spopovich is another of the annoying damage sponges. Gogeta is a budget carry who can transform easily and protects himself with Wild Sense until then. Vegeta is cheap and grants you access to giant form cheese. After image, after image, after image. Vegito is a cheap include and you only need a bar to go into Super Saiyan and access after image strike, arguably the best skill in the game. Are you getting this? So again, I just want to make clear that Sparking Zero has no obligation to be competitive. It does not need to be Street Fighter. It does not need to be Tekken. It does not need to be blah. However, if we look at this objectively, there is an honest effort to regulate and mediate some of the strong things in the game. There's a reason there's a 15 DP cost, and there's a reason the game feels balanced around teams. Because the low cost characters are weak, quote unquote, they tend to have these defensive skills that help them keep up with the higher damaging roster. Things like Gogeta, who costs 10, Beerus, who costs 10, Whis, who costs 10, Jiren, who costs 8 and 9, Topo, etc. That said, what they did not account for, and what none of us accounted for when the game was premiering, is that these characters who cost so much, would be largely absent from everything but singles. And I guess you could argue that singles being its own environment and teams being its own environment is fine. It's fine for the game. It's fine for there to be two different delineations. However, we know that this game wasn't built to be quote unquote competitive, but they did take the steps to foster a competitive environment for ranked. They added 2 modes and they added DP costs. Right. Where they sort of fumbled is that these low-cost characters simply outperform the high-cost characters on your team every single time. And if they don't, they swap into another, and another, and another, and they outvalue you. Value is such a big thing, especially in games like this, where I know that competitive fighting games, traditional fighting games are the devil to people who feel sort of like they've been discarded. You know, a lot of people in the arena fighter community feel like they're not taken seriously, or that maybe their game isn't meant to be taken seriously. But when we're managing meters, which is what happens in fighting games, we sort of have to consolidate these thoughts and be realistic about what's actually happening on the screen. Most of my games, I've won 28 games rather. I've lost however many is 30% of that. Most of my games go to time, and I'm playing a big character. Usually I'm playing a character that costs 7 or 8 or 9, and I'm playing 2 supports essentially. Most of my games go to time because I have to track down 3 to 4 to 5 characters every single time. And as you can see, even though I don't play these games much, I play fighting games, I play traditional fighting games. I'm at S rank, I'm at the rank before Z, and I'm still having to go to time to most people while winning. So I am winning. And the reason I'm clarifying that I'm winning a lot is because it doesn't bother me that I'm winning or losing. It bothers me that the matches aren't very interesting once you reach a certain rank. And if you're at C or D or even B rank, low Bs, you might not deal with this and the game feels fine and it feels like everybody's dying and you're punching each other to death and all this stuff. But all of these defensive options people talked about, even though they exist, they're so powerful and they're so attainable that once you get into the lobbies where people are healing and switching and doing this and that, it's a race against the clock. I'm really just timing people out, even though my team's not built to stall. I'm playing shit like Broly. I'm trying to go kill people. You know, I don't have After Image. I don't have Sensu Bean. So for me to still be going to time a lot is crazy. If you watch my other video on Sparking Zero tips to make you so you can win rank faster, so you can level up and be, better than your opponent, trust me when I say that I haven't done anything different than that video. You can still go watch that video and you'll learn everything I'm doing by watching me play against the Beerus in that video. I was still running Raccoon. I was still running like Bardock or whoever was my third character. I was still running a high cost main character, and I was just key blasting and sidestepping and, just getting better and better at applying pressure. That's it. And the reason I want to, clarify that is because I didn't really need to learn to get better at combos or get better at defending ultimates that are, unblockable or defending this or that. I just needed to get better at beating my opponent who was stalling. My opponent was stalling, so I just had to race against their stall. Does that make sense? I think currently people are pretty happy with the game, and I was pretty happy with the game. I've played tens of hours. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasted my money or anything. I think Sparking Zero is good as what it is. It's the best arena fighter that's come out in what feels like a decade. But do I think it has these glaring issues, these loud, blaring issues? Yes, I do. And people don't really want to talk about them because everyone's really happy, right? Everyone's really excited for a new Dragon Ball thing. Dragon Ball's up. We feel really good. All that can be true. All that can be true. And what I'm saying can be true, which is in 3 weeks' time, this is going to get really old if they don't decide to fix it. It's not a question of if they need to nerf something or if they need to nerf something every 3 weeks or anything like that. The reason they kind of need to address this is because the Earthlings, these After Images, these Sensu Beans, these blah, 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 it doesn't lead to interesting matches. It just leads to long matches. And that's not very fun or engaging. All of this talk about how OP the characters would be completely flies out the window the moment you reach playing someone who's even slightly aware of what's happening in the game. Your experience playing against bad players is a fairy tale land. What's going to happen when you start playing against people who have a few 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours into the game is they're just going to make you wait. They're just going to make you wait, and it's not going to be fun. You're not going to be doing Dragon Ball shit, and you're just going to be vanishing a lot, playing the vanishing minigame, and that's it really. People are obviously going to continue to tell you that Vegito is the most obnoxious thing in the game, but genuinely, the reason Vegito feels so obnoxious for me is because there's a Yajirobe behind him. Yajirobe is the best character in the game, and the Earthling gang are the second and third and fourth best characters in the game. Vegito is not even close. It's gotten to the point where I would literally rather play against a 20 DP cost team that was running 2 Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas. I would rather play against 2 Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas than play against one Yajirobe. I promise you. As a final talking point, I just wanted to say, because this is genuinely not about they need to nerf or buff every single time. It really isn't. This is about game design. When Street Fighter 6 first came out, there's this character named E Honda. You might have heard of him. If you have, you know that base E Honda only really did a few things. He headbutted, he butt slammed, or he walked back and forth. That's all he would do. If you played against a bronze E Honda, he would do this. If you played against a Master Super Diamond, the best in the world E Honda, he would do this. And it's not the Honda player's fault. It was just so good that they couldn't really afford to do anything else. Even though they weren't the best character in the game, it was just the most optimal thing to be doing. So long as you were playing E Honda, you would rather take the risk that the person you were playing against couldn't perfect parry call out your headbutt or butt slam than walk up to them and play the neutral. In Sparking Zero, once you get to a certain point, you would always rather be playing Yajirobe and After Image characters than playing Gogeta. And does that feel right to you if the whole point of the game was to make you feel cool for playing Gogeta? I don't think so. But that's going to do it for me. No more yapping. Sparking Zero is really fun. I think a lot of the other modes are really promising. I just think that once you get to a certain point in ranked, like every competitive game, like every, you know, quote unquote competitive game, anything where you PvP someone, there will be tactics that are very strong, that are very obtuse, and that show you some more of the flaws in the system. And right now, if they're going to say that this isn't a competitive game, that they're just making a game where you feel powerful, I want to feel powerful for picking strong characters rather than for locking in Roshi, Jiro, 19, Yajirobe, Wheelo, etc. I've been Lone. Like if you like the video, subscribe to join the club. Peace, man.